What's next? You are God. I'm not saying you're a God. I'm not saying you are the God. I am saying you are God. You are God for your life. Only you matter in your life. And you decide how everything around you influences you. You decide what others say causes you to how to react. You decide when things come into your life how you will respond to them. Now the problem is we have been indoctrinated, we have been beat, we have been controlled and manipulated by the system not to know our true power. We can do and we can have everything in our life. Our lives can be perfect. We just have to seize upon our divinity, seize upon our control, and decide how the things in our life impact, influence, or has no effect. It's kind of like a candy apple with the truth. The truth of everything is a delicious, nutritious apple. And those in power don't want you to know that you are God. Those in power don't want you to know this truth nor any other truth to give you any power. So what they do is they cover it with sugar, garbage. It's totally unhealthy. And it kind of manipulates, it turns a perfectly healthy, perfect truth into something different, covered with garbage. And that way they can influence it. They can take away the power of, quote, the apple. And you're saying, well, I have no control of this, I have bad luck, I have this, I have that. It's because they make you think this. As they make you perceive things in your life as bad, and they tell you how they're bad. And they manipulate and they put you into that mindset. Then you say, well, why are my needs more important than anyone else's? Your needs are more important because you know how to control your life. Once you take control of it, you control every aspect of your life. And that gives everyone else the freedom to control every aspect of their lives. You can't make someone enlightened. You can't make someone think. You can't force them to understand true knowledge. You can only show it to them, let them make the decision, and once they ask the right questions, then you can help them. But up and until they ask the questions for you to help them, there's nothing you can do. You can just answer the questions that they give you and leave it at that, and make no judgment, have no real need to convince them. You just provide them with the information as they are ready for it. Now, some would say that you have to, true spirituality involves sacrifice. Again, that's a manipulation. You don't need to sacrifice anything. You have everything you need, and it comes to you easily. Those in power want you to think you need to sacrifice. Those in power want you to think that with every good thing you have, you deserve to make some kind of a sacrificial payment. There is no sacrifice. They just want to manipulate you. They want to divert you from knowing your true path. Being spiritual is easy once you seize upon the idea that I have complete power of everything in my life. I decide how things are going to play out. And then I decide how I will react to each of these things that come into my life. Others can present you with obstacles, but you must define whether they're a bad thing or a good thing. Some obstacles that seem like a bad thing in your life actually can be changed by you to positive. Sometimes you might make a bad purchase. You'll buy something and it'll fail. It'll break. Well, now you've learned something, and from that you know how to get something better, or how to look for better quality, or it just means something totally different. There's always a message in it. As things come, as people come to you and they'll say offensive things, well, if they're mean, they want you to react. So if you don't react, it doesn't feed them. If they're not mean, they didn't mean to say it. And again, it's not a problem because they didn't mean to be offensive, and so you don't take it as offensive and you move on. There's so many things that the system wants to manipulate. It wants to cover things and make us believe that the sugar coating on the nutritious apple is good. Self-sacrifice. We've been trained to actually enjoy it. We've been trained to enjoy sacrificing ourselves for other people, to enjoy sacrificing ourselves for the system, to better everyone else. A true enlightened person doesn't sacrifice themselves. And a true enlightened person takes their own best interest at heart with no impact on anyone else around them. It's a balancing act that is actually much easy to do, but sometimes it's hard to think about, because every instance of taking yourself above everyone else is a different way of seeing things. It's all about perspective. And sometimes, yes, you'll make mistakes. You'll take yourself first and you will harm somebody. But that's a lesson. That's a lesson unfortunately, for them to learn and for you to learn, and then you move forward. You take every moment as you're given them. You deal with things as they come, and you move forward. Because the past is gone. It is done. Live in the now, deal with things as they come right now, and plan for short term, plan for the long term, but that's all just written in pencil because it can be changed at any point. That's fine. But just as long as you're constantly keeping an eye on what your best interests are with no impact on anyone else. And I kind of feel the candy apple is kind of a bad metaphor, because not everyone likes apples. But it still can be seen as an important piece of information, because the Garden of Eden fell apart because Eve ate of the apple of knowing the difference between good and evil. So it's a good metaphor in that way. Because all through history, the apple's been used as a symbol of knowledge. And that's one of the issues with the Garden of Eden, is that supposedly Eve was manipulated by the snake. And then Eve manipulated her husband Adam to also eat of the apple. All because what the snake said. But what if it was nothing to do with being manipulated? What if it was all about given the option of making their own decisions? What if the Garden of Eden was an enlightenment situation where they are now free to make their own choices And the snake gave him that option. And unfortunately, it represents the snake, and the snake is seen as knowledge, but also as fear, because a lot of snakes were venomous. So with that knowledge came some work. They have to take control of their own lives. They have to realize and look and decide how everything shall be played out under their own power, being their own gods, and stop allowing the system of the garden to control them. But that's only my ideas, and I welcome everyone else's. But I hope each and every one of you realize that each and every one of you are God for your life, and no one has any right to push you around and make you think anything that doesn't align with your own personal beliefs, your own personal needs, and your own personal life path. What's next?